Guys, let's go right here. Last Dance last night, episodes 7 and 8, brought into clear focus just how maniacal Michael Jordan was. I think that's the word I wanted to use, in his pursuit of championships. Michael Jordan, a bully, intimidating his teammates. We heard Bill Whittington, Will Perdue, Steve Kerr, Judd Bushler, B.J. Armstrong talk about Michael Jordan being a jerk and being relentless. We heard Scotty Burrell. We heard trash talk from Jordan, where he was pretty relentless in his bullying tactics with his own teammates. I'm watching this last night, and my initial gut reaction as I watch is like, Michael Jordan is the Bobby Knight of basketball players. Michael Jordan has a lot in common with Bobby Knight, the legendary Indiana coach, known for his temper, known for his bullying tactics with his own college players. That was my thought last night. This morning, a friend of mine that I went to Ball State with, he was on the basketball team. He's originally from Detroit. He texted me a message that was even better than my Bobby Knight analogy. He asked the question, so as a Pistons fan, I'm watching Michael Jordan be celebrated as this great leader for bullying and intimidating his teammates, but I'm looking at Isiah Thomas be vilified for bullying and intimidating his opponents. And Isiah Thomas is vilified. Michael Jordan is celebrated. There is some hypocrisy here. And I want to be clear here before I toss it to Marcellus and Rick. Obviously, I've made no secret of the fact that I'm friends with Isiah. I'm a fan of Isiah. If you study my journalistic career, I have defended Isiah Thomas through thick and thin, through all the controversy. I think Isiah is one of the most misunderstood athletes of my lifetime and my generation. I love Isiah Thomas. Having said that, I have a lot of respect for Michael Jordan. And last night, when I was watching and made the Bob Knight analogy, I was someone that really never had a problem with Bob Knight and his tactics. I certainly never had a problem with the Pistons and Isiah Thomas and their tactics. But I do think it's hypocritical the way Michael Jordan is celebrated as this great leader, and we're all kind of laughing and looking back and like, oh, my God, it was very effective what Michael Jordan did. He's celebrated. Meanwhile, Bobby Knight, Isiah Thomas vilified. And so which leads the question, Bobby Knight, Isiah Thomas, their legacies have been diminished because their tactics allegedly went over the top. Marcellus, get us rolling here. Should Jordan's bullying tactics diminish his legacy?
No, they shouldn't. And I think we're being a little excessive when we're saying the word bullying based on what I saw in episodes 7 and 8 last night. That was not bullying in my experience. Think about it. Like, even the situation when you were talking about Steve Kerr. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I went to Steve Kerr, who was going back and forth with Michael Jordan, in their words. Finally, Jordan gave a foul that left no doubt that that was a foul. And Steve Kerr punched him in the chest. Now, when you're the smaller of the two, but you're an adult, guess what? It comes with a consequence. It comes with a price. Michael Jordan just fired back with an eye shot. Better landing spot, probably more visible. He wins the fight. But he was defending himself. Like, Steve Kerr actually hit him first. Now, this is my greater point. In all of the folklore of Michael Jordan and the legend of this maniacal serial assassin and this mentality that no holds barred, that's the greatest example we have of Michael Jordan and how killer he was in terms of being a teammate and his killer instinct. Like, I know this was a Disney production because it's on ESPN, ABC, but I need more. I need something felonious because my D-line coach on a Wednesday in the preseason showed me and gave me more hell than what I saw last night in that documentary. So I chalk this up to guys who really can't say they're bullied. They're sitting there in Jordan brand clothes. He's apologizing and calling them after the so-called bullying. What kind of bullying is this? I think some of this is being lost in exaggeration.
Yeah, no, I do not have a problem with Jordan's approach because there was a purpose behind the punishment. I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie Whiplash with J.K. Simmons as this sadistic musical director, but he was able to get the best. He would drive and get the best out of his students, but he did it with these mental tricks and this abuse that was clearly over the top. What told me about where Jordan's mindset was is the fact in the Steve Kerr incident, he realized that he'd gone too far. He measured, what do I have to do to get these guys ready to perform under the pressure of the playoffs? Well, you know what? In practice every day, I'm going to put them under my pressure and see how they react. He knew instantly that punching Steve Kerr probably was going a step too far and said as much, which is why he called Steve. But everything else that he did, there was a purpose behind it, which is I need to get you ready to be in the cauldron with me in order to win it all. And look, the ends don't always justify the means, but in this case, they clearly did, because not only did he deliver with championships every single time, but as you heard players talk about it, they were grateful for the experience. Did I like it in the moment? Hell no. Did you get me where I wanted to go? Yes. And Jordan made it clear. He was going to find out, why are you here? Are you here because it makes you a lot of money? Is it here because of the fame? Is it here because you just like to play basketball? Or are you here to win it all? And if you were there to win it all, you were willing to stand up to it, as B.J. Armstrong alluded to. And if you weren't, you're probably calling your agent and say, you know what, I need to get someplace else where I can make money and just play basketball.
Look, I hate to go here because I think y'all going to pounce and it's going to be hard for me to recover from the way y'all about to pounce on me. But everything y'all are saying.
We're not going to bully you, Jason.
People would justify Bobby Knight's actions. But Bobby Knight, the same thing. People that went through that military-like experience with Bobby Knight on the other side would say it was awful. But, man, did we win? Did I learn things? And, look, I'm very consistent. I'm from Indiana. I got the whole Bobby Knight experience. If you went there, you signed up for that abuse, and he delivered. I had no problem with it, have always defended Bobby Knight, even when he's crossed the lines or whatever and he's been wrong. But overall, defended Bobby Knight. All I'm saying is Isiah Thomas, the Pistons, the bad boy Pistons, they bullied Michael Jordan. They bullied their opponents. Michael Jordan still holding a grudge. Isiah, reputation, never given the credit that he fully deserves as one of, as, in my view, the greatest leader the NBA's seen other than Bill Russell, in my opinion. He and Bill Russell on the same level. To take his undersized body and do what he did in the NBA with his group of teammates. He didn't play with the top 50 players, Scottie Pippen, Magic playing with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird playing with Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish. Isiah took his group and won championships and was a force in the 1980s, beat Bird, Magic, and Michael in the 80s. Somehow his reputation as a leader is diminished. But Michael Jordan, and again, y'all saying that, look, not only beating up Steve Kerr and he knew he was wrong, the bullying of Scott Burrell, Horace Grant, don't feed him on an airplane. We've heard story after story. I'm not trying to diminish Michael. I watch it and I love it all. I love it. I love all three of them equally. This is what winners do. But to me, it's hypocritical. Isiah, Bobby Knight get trashed. Michael Jordan gets celebrated.
Yeah, hey, I'm with you right there, Jason, talking about the likability and how that comes into play, and it's invincible. You really don't understand how much of it is coming into play in your equation of what you desire and what you don't. Think about it. Like, there are so many ways and so many styles of leadership. You just brought up Isiah Thomas. And look, if Isiah Thomas had a nice shoe and a sweatshirt like this, maybe we would talk about him in greater terms. But the fact of the matter is, this helps whatever else Michael Jordan wanted us to subscribe to. If you think about it, Magic Johnson was a tremendous leader. Tim Duncan, a tremendous leader, all did it differently. So this whole best way of leadership is really just the best way that they tried, and we just have to live with those results. But other people have been as successful in their own right doing it a different way. So what I think I want to minimize is this whole legend of Jordan as the killer teammate. I think he had a killer mentality, a winner's mentality, and he did it with a frown most of the time. But guess what? That was just his way to grand and all of a sudden make this bigger than it is I think where we do Michael Jordan and leadership a disservice. What I witnessed in this documentary the most is the fact that when you're the man, everything is better because you're the man. And when you're not, when you're Scott Burrell, you can say the funniest joke in the world. It ain't that funny because you ain't that good. When you're Michael Jordan, it's the bullying is the power of who you are, not necessarily what you're doing. It's just the fact that Michael Jordan walks in the room and people are at ease. So that's what happens in this situation. I'm going to minimize the power of what came out of his mouth and his actions, but also emphasize more the power of him, the man.
This is the distinction that I make between Isiah, Bobby Knight, and Michael Jordan. For me, I had no problem with any of their tactics. Although Jordan did, as he demonstrated, he knew where the line was, and he knew when he went over it. I don't have any issue with how Isiah approached things, but stick by it. Jordan made no apologies for the way that he approached things. He said, "This is why I did it. This is why I was. This is what I was after, and ultimately, I'm not going to take any of it back." I feel at times as if Isiah has tried to explain why he was doing what he was doing. You don't need to explain anything to me. If you were successful, then that's explanation enough. And Bobby at times did go too far, but would never acknowledge that he went too far. And I find it interesting that Isiah actually played for Bobby Knight at one point, that there's a connection there. So the other part of this is, and I think for the general public, you're dealing with athletes, professional athletes, all who've had tremendous success. You know this, Marcellus. You know this, Jason. You need to have the biggest ego in the room in order to convince them to stay in line and follow a certain path. Scottie Pippen went off the reservation when Michael Jordan wasn't there. That's not by accident. I dare say he wouldn't have done that if Michael Jordan was still on the team. And the fact that Scottie Pippen said, "I'd do it again if I had it to do it all over again," tells you just how massive that ego is and how hard it is to put guys in line when they're all professional athletes. Michael Jordan understood that and did what was necessary to make it happen.
Let's end on this note. I want to comment from each of you on this. And this is my problem. And I got my Michael Jordan cigar. I still support Michael, but there's some hypocrisy here. Michael Jordan, to me, owes Isiah Thomas an apology. I'm telling you, I watched this, thought of Bobby Knight. My friend made me think about the Isiah Thomas connection. And I'm watching this, I'm going, this man is sitting on TV talking about, I hate Isiah Thomas. Basically, I have no respect for what they did, the Pistons and their approach and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Isiah bullied opponents. You bullied your teammates, but you still, 30 years later, have a problem with Isiah Thomas. You ran him off the damn dream team because allegedly he was, a bad guy. He was going to mess up chemistry and blah, blah, blah. And maybe Mike wasn't alone. But to me, Mike looks hypocritical, still holding a grudge against Isiah Thomas. Can we at least agree on that?
Yeah, I agree with you right there because Isiah looks the most authentic of them all. Being the leader of the Bad Boys Pistons, he's like, this isn't for show. I'm going to do this in my life, in my heart, inside and out. Whereas I think Michael Jordan's became more of a persona, more of a pick and choose when you can show that killer mentality. But then in situations where someone actually is exemplifying that, like Isiah Thomas is, you don't respect it. I thought game recognized game. If you're really a killer at heart like Isiah is, the undersized man, the little engine that could, then you should respect Isaiah instead of always picking at Isaiah. So because he has more rings, he'll win that conversation. But in my eyes, Isaiah looks like the more authentic one.
Yeah, I don't know if it's hypocritical. I feel as if Michael is still angry over the fact that Isiah never bent the knee. Isiah never fully acknowledged that, yeah, you got the best of me. The way we heard Magic say it, the way we heard Bird say it. Because if Michael truly understood what happened, he would appreciate that Isiah did to him what Michael Jordan did to his teammates, which is he forced him to reach a level that maybe he would not have been able to reach on his own. But because of the way the Pistons beat the snot out of him and the way they physically abused him and the way they suffered no quarter from him, they forced him to change his game. They forced him to get into the weight room. They forced him to accept the triangle. And they ultimately made him the player that he is today. I can see where you'd say it's hypocritical in that he's not appreciating that Michael Jordan is not the player he is today without Isiah Thomas and the Pistons.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.